He is none other than our Honorable Governor Shri Abdul Nazeer sir. Welcome sir. Welcome to Honorable First Lady Governor Madam Samira Nazeer Madam. Welcome Madam. I request all the dignitaries to rise up for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Thank you. Now I request Honorable Governor Shri Abdul Nazeer sir, lighting of the lamp and paying floral tributes to the founding fathers of the Constitution will take place. Thank you, sir. Now I request to have a short video on making of Constitution of India.
The Constitution of India, adopted on November 26, 1949, signifies the culmination of a protracted and meticulous process led by the Constituent Assembly. This day is celebrated as Constitution Day or Samvidhan Divas in India.
I propose to make this appeal. Let us leave aside slogans. Let us leave aside words which frighten people. Let us even make concession to the prejudices of our opponents. Bring them in so that they may willingly join with us on marching upon that road, which, as I said, if we walk long enough, must necessarily lead us to union.
The constitutional framework of a nation invariably rests upon the bedrock of its historical evolution. In the case of the Constitution of India, the foundation was not hastily laid, rather its construction commenced several decades before the country achieved independence in 1947. In 1934, Manabendranath Roy proposed the idea of a Constituent Assembly. Subsequently, the demand for the Constituent Assembly gained momentum, finding a place in the Congress Manifesto for the 1936-37 elections. The call for a Constituent Assembly intensified, coinciding with the outbreak of the Second World War in 1939. The drafting of the document called the Constitution was done by an assembly of elected representatives called the Constituent Assembly. On November 15, 1939, C. Rajagopalachari advocated for a Constituent Assembly based on adult franchise, a proposal accepted by the British in August 1940. In 1946, the Cabinet Mission Plan arrived in India to facilitate the transfer of power from the British government to Indian leadership, focusing on maintaining India's unity and granting it independence. The mission conducted preparatory discussions with elected representatives of British India and Indian states to reach an agreement on the constitution framing process. Elections to the Constituent Assembly were held in July 1946. Its first meeting was held in December 1946 after the partition. India comprised two territories under British rule, British India and the Princely States. The Constituent Assembly, formed based on population, initially had 389 representatives, with one representing every 10 lakh people. This number was later reduced to 299 after the partition of India. India has consistently acknowledged the crucial role of women in nation building, as evidenced by the active participation of female members in the Constituent Assembly. Prominent figures like Sarojini Naidu, Hansa Mehta, Durgabai Deshmukh, Rajkumari Amrit Kaur. Meanwhile, key figures including Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, C. Rajagopalachari, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Purushottam Mavalankar, along with eminent jurists like Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, Benegal Narsingh Rao, K.M. Munshi and Ganesh Mavalankar played pivotal roles in shaping the Constitution. The manner in which the Constituent Assembly operated further adds sanctity to the Constitution, not confined to reflecting individuals' perspectives. The Constitution embodies a broad consensus of its time. Unlike many nations that had to rewrite their constitutions due to agreements, our Constitution has remained resilient. Despite various groups questioning specific provisions over the last 50 years, the legitimacy of the Constitution itself has never been contested by any significant social group or political party, marking it as an exceptional achievement in constitutional history. On November 20, 1946, a decision was made to convene the inaugural session of the Constituent Assembly. Subsequently, the Assembly's members gathered for the first time on December 9, 1946. Dr. Sachidanand Sinha served as the initial temporary president for the two-day session. The second session of the Constituent Assembly convened on December 11, 1946, where Dr. Rajendra Prasad assumed the presidency. Harendra Kumar Mukherjee became the vice president, and Benegal Narsingh Rao was appointed as the constitutional advisor. During the third meeting on December 13, 1946, Jawaharlal Nehru introduced the objective resolution outlining the fundamental principles of the Constitution. Subsequently, on January 22, 1947, the Constituent Assembly unanimously endorsed this resolution, officially adopting it as the preamble of the Constitution. Over 2,000 amendments were taken into consideration during this thorough deliberation. The final version of the Constitution was officially passed and adopted by the Constituent Assembly on November 26, 1949. During the final session of the Assembly on January 24, 1950, the members affixed their signatures to two copies of the document, each in Hindi and English. The national anthem, Jana Gana Man, and the first two verses of Vande Mataram were formally adopted as the national song. The Constitution was officially inaugurated on January 26, 1950, marking the establishment of Republic Day in India. The members of the Constituent Assembly also adopted the national anthem Jana Gana Man, written by Rabindranath Tagore in Bengali and later translated into Hindi. Additionally, the Constituent Assembly transitioned to become the Parliament of India under the new Constitution's provisional. The original Constitution of India, a masterpiece of calligraphy, was meticulously handwritten by Prem Bihari Narayan Raizada and Vasant Krishnan Vaidya. Every page carries the ideals and aspirations of India's founding fathers. The Constitution was adorned by artists from Kala Bhavan, Shanti Niketan, including Nandalal Bose and his students, along with Vyawhar Ram Manohar Sinha. On January 26, 1950, 2 days after completion, the Constitution officially became the governing law for all states and territories of India. Every document and word spoken in the Constituent Assembly was meticulously recorded and preserved, known as the Constituent Assembly debates, spanning 12 voluminous records. These debates serve as a crucial resource, offering the rationale behind each constitutional provision and aiding in the interpretation of the Constitution's meaning. The Indian Constitution is often regarded as a global constitution and stands as the supreme law of India. Serving as a living document, it acts as the foundational instrument that governs the country's system. This comprehensive character delineates essential political principles, defines the structure and functions of government institutions, and outlines fundamental rights, directive principles, and citizen duties. Remarkably, it holds the distinction of being the world's lengthiest written constitution for a sovereign nation. At its commencement, the Constitution comprised 395 articles across 22 parts, 8 schedules, and encompassed nearly 80,000 words. On January 26, 1950, the Constituent Assembly transformed into a Provisional Parliament of India, functioning until the establishment of the new Parliament in 1952. Beyond drafting the Constitution and passing regular laws, the Constituent Assembly undertook crucial functions. It ratified India's entry into the Commonwealth in May 1949, adopted the national flag on July 22, 1947, and selected the national song on January 24, 1950. Moreover, it elected Dr. Rajendra Prasad as the first President of India on January 24, 1950. Recognized as the architect of the Indian Constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar played a pivotal role in its formulation.
Was a short video on making of Constitution of India. Thank you for watching. Now, the preamble to the Constitution of India will be read out by the Honorable Governor Shri Abdul Nazeer sir, phrase by phrase, and will be repeated by all the dignitaries present.
We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. We do hereby give to ourselves this Constitution.
Thank you, sir. Now, I cordially invite our Honorable Governor Shri Abdul Nazeer sir to grace the occasion and address the gathering.
Distinguished dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, I extend my warm greetings to you all. It gives me immense pleasure to be here amongst you all on the auspicious occasion of celebration of 75th Constitution Day. Constitution Day, also known as Samvidhan Divas, is celebrated on 26th November every year to commemorate the adoption of the Indian Constitution by Constituent Assembly on 26th November 1949 that came into effect from 26th January 1950. The Constitution Day gives us an opportunity to honor and pay tributes to Bharat Ratna Baba Saheb Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, the chief architect of the Indian Constitution, and other founding fathers of the Constitution for their great contribution. The contributions of the framers of the Constitution will always be remembered by the people for posterity, for giving us the noble principles on which we derive our freedom and equality and maintain harmony in the society. The process of drafting of the Indian Constitution began in 1946 in anticipation of the country's independence when the country was passing through a great turmoil at the peak of the independence movement. The Constituent Assembly went about its task to create a constitution not just for a nation but for a civilization, which was a Herculean task that came with higher responsibilities. In doing so, the drafting committee adopted a balanced approach as the task of preparation of the Constitution was meant to address the aspirations of a hugely complex and heterogeneous population. Many world leaders consider India's Constitution as a miracle. The Indian Constitution is the cornerstone of the nation as it lays the foundation of the governance of our nation. The founding fathers wanted the Constitution to be an adaptable document rather than a rigid framework for governance. The Constitution gave a place of permanence to the fundamental freedoms of the citizens. It guarantees our rights like equality before the law, freedom of religion, speech, and freedom of movement, etc. The fundamental rights granted to the citizens under Article 13 of the Constitution cannot be modified, restricted, or impaired. The Apex Court on several occasions held that the fundamental rights were so sacrosanct and transcendental in importance that they could not be restricted. The Indian Constitution is remarkable for its many outstanding features, which makes it unique from constitutions of other countries, even though many of its provisions are taken from the constitutional framework of other nations. The framers of the Constitution deserve all the credit for gathering the best features of constitutions followed by other nations and modifying the provisions to suit our needs by eliminating inherent flaws in those provisions. Our constitution is a synthesis of parliamentary sovereignty and judicial supremacy. The Indian constitution is the written and lengthiest constitution of any sovereign country in the world. The original constitution of India was handwritten by Prem Behari Narayan Raizada in a flowing italic style. Originally, it consisted of 395 articles in 22 parts and 8 schedules, but it has been amended from time to time. Currently, it has a preamble, 25 parts with the 12 schedules, 470 articles, and 106 amendments. The Indian Constitution is known to be more flexible than rigid, as it gives the power to the Parliament to modify many of the provisions by a simple majority for general legislation. Here, let us recall the words of Dr. Ambedkar, father of the Indian Constitution, who said, and I quote, "Political democracy cannot last unless there lies at the base of it social democracy." What does social democracy mean? It means a way of life which recognizes liberty, equality, and fraternity as the principles of life, I unquote. The Indian Constitution guarantees fundamental rights to all its citizens, which are not absolute, but are subject to reasonable restrictions. Fundamental duties are incorporated through the 42nd Amendment, which imposes a moral obligation on the citizens to perform their duties, even though they cannot be enforced legally. Another important feature of the Constitution is the directive principles of the state policy, which are fundamental principles for the governance of the country, and it shall be the duty of the states to apply these principles in making laws, and it imposes a moral obligation on the states for their adherence. Rule of law is another important feature of the Constitution, which implies that no man is above the law and all individuals are subject to jurisdiction of the ordinary courts. Absence of arbitrary power is the first essential feature of the rule of law, upon which our whole constitutional system is based. Governance must be by rule and cannot be arbitrary, vague, and discretionary. To put it in the words of Dr. Ambedkar, the chief architect of the Indian Constitution, the Constitution is not a mere lawyer's document. The Constitution is not a mere lawyer's document. It is a vehicle of life, and its spirit is always the spirit of age, unquote. The Constitution lays down national goals of our country: democracy, secularism, socialism, and national integration. The Constitution spells out rights and duties of the citizens and empowers the citizens by protecting their rights, and the citizens empower the Constitution by adhering to their duties. Fundamental duties enjoins upon the citizens of India to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India, and ideals and institutions included into the Constitution. Sorry, I have some throat irritation. Citizens should live in a spirit of common brotherhood, transcending religious, linguistic, and regional diversities to renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women, develop scientific temper, and preserve our rich cultural heritage. Before concluding, let us remember the words of Swami Vivekananda, who said, and I quote, "Every nation has a message to deliver, a mission to fulfill, a destiny to reach. The mission of India has been to guide humanity." I unquote. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thanking you for your valuable message, sir. Now I request our Joint Secretary to Governor, Shri Surya Prakash Garu, to propose vote of thanks.
The 75th National Constitution Day celebrated today marks a significant milestone in the history of independent India. On behalf of Andhra Pradesh Raj Bhavan, I express my profound gratitude to the Honorable Governor Sir and Honorable First Lady Madam for their esteemed presence, which has greatly enriched this occasion. I express my sincere gratitude to the Honorable Justices of the High Court of Andhra Pradesh for their gracious presence. I also convey my heartfelt thanks to the esteemed dignitaries for making it convenient to attend the program. I extend my sincere thanks to Chief Secretary to Government, Director General of Police, and all the dignitaries for their participation and making today's program successful. I place on record my appreciation for the officials of the INPR department as well as Raj Bhavan Secretariat for the methodical arrangements made for today's program. Finally, I extend my gratitude to each and everyone for your active participation in this significant event. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request all the dignitaries to rise up for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे